Okay, hi everybody. My name is Zeke Lehman, and I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the stuff I've been studying for the last 27 or so years, and it has to do with the Constitution and our rights. So the first thing I want to let you know is that rights means free action. And in order to protect our free action, the forefathers fought for our Constitution and put together a document that separates the powers of government of our land. So the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It's divided into three separate and equal powers, which is what made it totally different than any other government before us. Instead of having one king, we have three, and that's the powers. And those powers are used to protect our rights. And there's a way that it's done, and there's a process that's used, and you proceed by rules. And these are the things that most of us haven't learned, and we were distracted in school with other things so that we wouldn't learn this type of process and understanding. So the Constitution, again, three separate powers: legislative, executive, and judicial. And we want to talk about the judicial power, because the judicial power is vested in one Supreme Court, sometimes called the Article III Court. And that Supreme Court has jurisdiction over all cases, law, and equity. So our rights are protected in the courts. The Constitution is the tool. So like a wrench, the tool isn't going to do anything unless you use it. And when I say you, that means each individual, each one of us, because an attorney can't do it for us. In fact, as soon as the attorney takes the case, we lose it, because he will not protect your rights. Only you can protect your rights. So how does this work? How do we really protect our rights? Well, the rights are protected in the court. Well, the Article 3 is the court. Okay, so we have to study up on what a court is and how it works, study the three powers, how they balance, and that's basically what we're going to cover in our course, because I've concluded that the three powers of government are actually the ones that are exercised in each courtroom. The legislative, executive, and judicial powers are represented by the plaintiff, the referee, or the judge, the magistrate, and the defendant. So we have the Constitution in the court. And if you're not aware of this game, then you lose it pretty quick as soon as you get an attorney, for one reason. And this is in a criminal type courts. So there are two different types of actions. We have to know this: criminal and civil. So when people ask me, what do I do? Where do I start? How do I understand this stuff? I can say, get a Black's Law Dictionary. You have to learn the rules of court. You have to study the procedure. So we have to learn those words in the law dictionary and understand how to use them in the court. And this court thing is very important to understand, because in the court is where the powers are separate and equal, and so the judge is not more powerful than the defendant or the plaintiff. And then we have to understand that if one of these powers in the court, where the parties are brought in, the parties are then, if they're represented by an attorney, then there's another connection of representation. This is what we have in our country, the problem of representation, because most people give up their rights for representation, and representation means someone else is going to do it for you, and they do it to you, generally. Very few people can exercise rights for someone else. In fact, I don't think it's been done before. So the hidden power of the Constitution is the judicial power. It has jurisdiction over all cases, law, and equity. So we have to understand what law is and what equity is. And these are, again, jurisdictions that have been developed. The common law came out of England. All courts in this state are, the rule of decision is the common law. However, most of the activity in the courts these days is equity. So we have to learn the difference between law and equity, how to use them, where the court is, and what the word political means, and what most of the words mean. So we have to learn the words of legalese. The words have different meanings. We take that, we put it together in a court, and we can defend our rights. Basically, that's the introduction of what we're going to do. I'm looking for people that are interested in learning that. There's probably a lot of you out there who do have a lot of knowledge of words and some processes, but you may not know exactly what context those are heard in and what they need to go in. So I put together the whole picture, how it starts, how it works, and where you can go with it. But it's going to take time for people to learn this stuff, and it's going to take study. But once you understand and learn how this works, then it'll set you free so that you can protect your rights wherever you go. So basically, the introduction, we'll study the courts, we'll study the process, we'll study the rules, and how we're going to proceed.